Hello, everybody, once again, and welcome to another edition of the Hilchos Tefillah Winner Shiur. My name is Yehudah Schwartz. If this is your first time listening to the shiur, welcome aboard to this wonderful, amazing shiur that's been going on Baruch Hashem for the last few months already. And the whole goal of this shiur is to create the awareness which we need today, and which is we come to shul and we daven like it's supposed to. We don't come to talk in shul, idle chatter, as we had discussed in the past shiurim already on this. We don't come to shul late. We come to shul on time. We try to encourage people to stay in shul to the very end and not just run out. And more importantly, also not to talk during davening whatsoever. So, Baruch Hashem, we have done this for a few weeks already. Actually, a few months already, let's be honest, for a few months. Tonight is Shiur 31. Shiur 31 is our 16th week of this wonderful, amazing Shiur. The plan is with Hashem to do this Shiur even in the summertime. This is being recorded right before summer. The school's almost out. Tonight is Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, Tovshem Pei Vav. And Mr. Hashem, hopefully, even next week, when we start camping season, Bais Medresh, hopefully we'll spend a few minutes each night learning kabolos and also the usual schedule, Bais Medresh. The other hope, hopefully over this summer, is to expand the reach, advertise in various platforms, and also Bais Medresh, put it out in other platforms as well, hopefully to have all platforms in by the end of the summer, Bais Medresh. We are now up to Sif Tezvav. Simon Tezvav, Sif Vav. We're doing this week Sif Vav and Zayin. Two big halachas we have to be aware of. And here we go. Sif Vav. Yesh Amrim. Some say Shein Tziche Lama B'Kaddish. They don't need to stand for Kaddish. Ach Kol Kaddish Shtafse Ba'amida. However, for those recitations of Kaddish that caught him standing, there was a following section of the davening for which one must stand in his way of standing anyway. For example, like after Halal, Yesh Ya'la Amad Boy, you should continue to stand until after we sing Ameni Hey Shmei Rabo. There are different customs among different shuls regarding this kind of response. Some recite, as we just mentioned now, with the word you use Barach, as we discussed, I'm thinking about even last week's shiur, or the week before. While others recite only to the word Almayo. And then listen as the Chazan continues the recitation with his Barach, as Bodan in the Mishnah Berurah. V'yesh Anbim, and some say, Yesh Lamed Tumel the Kaddish. The one must always stand for Kaddish, no matter what. There are more rights. This is not our custom to say Amen at this point. As for the other, actually, sorry, I read the wrong ones. Actually, I just realized. So my apologies. So Ba'achahal. So some say Ba'achahal is the one must actually stand for halal by halal. And some say the one must stand until after responding Amen Yeshmei Rabo. According to some poskim, one must stand until after responding Amen to the next section. The ones I just said actually in the others was actually from last week's shiur. My apologies. Let's continue. The Shah Davish of Kedusha, and for other sacred matters, when responding to other parts of davening or shvach, can only be recited with a meaning such as a Baruch Hu and Kedusha. Yesh lil by bekal v'chamem egloim melech moyav. This can be brought down from bekal v'chamem from the actions of Egloim the king of Moav. The Ksiv is written in Shoftim. V'ahir bo I love. Then Ehud came to him. V'me'ehud, and he said, Dvala Ekim di alecho v'yokem malakisei. So Egloim stood up from his chair. Yemo Egloim melech moyav shai akum. Nav Egloim the king of Moav, who was a Vadazonik, come to Hashem, so no honor for the word of Hashem, Kolchke nach Amai. And certainly us, we as his nation, should stand on it of the word of Hashem. And it's proper to follow the more stringent opinion. We must always stand by Kaddish. But this is really in the Ashkenaz community or the Hasidic community. But in the Syrian community, in the Sephardim, there are some Kaddishim that actually they do sit, and that's their minig. For example, Kaddish is Skabel and Kaddish Yosem towards the end of davening, they stay sitting. So that's their minig. Sif Zayin. If there are not at least 9 people listening to the Chazan's petition of Shich Tzibur, Kaddish. Kaddish should not be said at all. Why? Anything that's Zilbur Kedusha cannot be said less than 10. It means one person means the Shich Tzibur is saying it, and 9 people must hear it. Nevertheless, if one of the 10 is davening Shemini Esrei, even though he cannot respond to the Chazan's recitation of Kaddish with the others, he can still join to complete the minyan. The same halacha applies even in case where 2, 3, or 4 of the minyan were still davening Shemini Esrei. As long as there's a majority of the minyan to respond to the Shich Tzibur's saying of Kaddish, the lack of response on the part of the minority and the minyan does not prevent the Kaddish from being recited. That we regard with the Chazal Shots is necessary to have 9 people actually respond. That's the thing. That's a big kicker. So let's review for a minute here. When starting Shemini Esrei, the halacha is supposed to be at least 6 people that's starting together Shemini Esrei with the Chazan. However, but when there is Chazal Shots, it has to be 9 listening and 9 listening and singing Amen, and the last one is of course the Chazan. But if people want to be mitzaref, and then that part of it, that is allowed. However, in a case where one of the minyan was sleeping, the others must wake him. Since a sleeping person cannot be counted toward the required 10 of the minyan. In other words, the guy is sleeping in the middle of a minyan, and there's 8 other people listening, then 9% is a sleeper. They gotta wake him up because he's the last person that has to hear and answer Amen. That's very important. Next week we'll continue regarding other halachas, but we're going to Shlich Tzibur and Chatzi Kaddish. Also, what happens is next week we'll learn if there's exact people, 10 people on the show. So we'll discuss that in next week's shiur. We'll continue now with Tefillah with meaning, but I mentioned that Leibowitz. Again, in all the Svarim stores. And of course, you can always get it in Israel Bookshop Publications.com. Okay, let's continue. We're actually in the middle of the chapter 10. So we're going to continue from where we left off last week. As we said, we'll split into two. Half we did last week, and now we'll do the other half tonight, right now at this point. Fulfilling the purpose of creation. Shimshon Pincus says that the way we ask for our friend for something is very different from the way we make a request of Hashem. When someone asks his friend for something, his goal is to obtain the object he's asking for. If his friend doesn't give him the object, that means his friend does not wish to give it to him. Staying his request again and again will not change anything. It will only cause his friend to lose patience. This is not the case when we make a request of Hashem. Hashem wants to hear our request and grant it to us. The more a person asks for something, the more pleasure it brings Hashem, and the closer one comes to Him. The more one comes close to Hashem, the more one fulfills the purpose of creation. Now, things get stored in a vault, like davening, for example. Davening over and over again when one is not answered is comparable to digging a pit. When one digs a pit, he removes more and more dirt until the pit is ready to have material placed in it. One must keep making his request until he becomes worthy of accepting the request. Each time we daven, it is a different tefillah than the one before it. We daven for a sick person to get better. If it does a chabanat, we think the tefillahs were in vain. This is a grave mistake. The tefillahs themselves have a purpose, since asking is a purpose in itself. Also, in addition, we have no way of knowing why certain tefillahs seem like they are not answered. We don't know how the tefillah will be answered. Even if the sick person was not healed, the tefillah served a purpose. Perhaps a family member was supposed to be in an accident, and Hashem took out tefillah from the vault, so to speak, and saved them from the accident. We could better understand this topic with another mashal here. When printing pages, there's a connection between the computer and printer. If the power goes out and the printer has a backup, the pages that need to be printed are saved. When the power goes back on, the pages continue to print. The power outage merely delayed the printing of the papers. So similarly, when a person davens again and again, he may not see that his tefillahs are being answered right away. Yet all the tefillahs go up to Shemayim and are stored there. When Hashem is ready to use them, He puts the tefillahs to use. Every tefillah is heard by Hashem, and there may be reasons why it is not answered right away. The Alshach says, and Amika says, that at times tefillahs are not answered because since Hashem is testing one's level of emunah. So who will be answered? The Sefer Charedim says that tefillahs are of one who davens with kavanah and does not speak during tefillah will be answered quicker. The Rambam, Echas Tshuva, says that tefillahs of one who does tshuva will be answered right away. And these svarim offer many ways of which a tefillah has a better chance of being answered. More discussion, you can look at the Bilbavi Mishkan Avner Lev Ish, page 91 to 95. The Medresh and Shemes Rabbah says that Hashem will not hear the tefillahs of one who takes something that is not his. The Kava Yoshar says that one who has a tendency to relate bad tidings to others, will not have his tefillahs answered. The Sefer Hasidim lists 8 reasons why one's tefillahs are not heard, including not davening with kavanah, disliking the Torah, and not listening to a poor person's needs. The Shulchan Aruch says that one should not daven and think that because he said that the words were with meaning, Hashem should answer his tefillahs. Instead, he should think, who am I that Hashem should answer my tefillahs? My tefillahs can only be answered because of Hashem's kindness. The Tolos Yaakov Yosef says that if one feels joyful when he's finished davening, this is an indication that the tefillahs were answered. Now, generations later, the Chazon Ish Zatzal would say that we see many Jews who were not religious, but their children became religious. This is due to tefillahs that their great-grandparents davened many years earlier. Although the tefillahs may not have helped to make their children religious, generations later they were answered. A tefillah that seems unanswered is really being answered. The fact that it was not answered is for one's good, and that this itself is an answer. This is a great chizuk for all those who do not think that the tefillahs are answered. They should still continue to daven. Steiber Gaon would say that if one finds a simple home, that a child becomes a Talmid Chacham or a righteous person. It is due to grandparents and who daven and cried to their descendants should be Talmid Chachamim. And Hashem knows best. Since no tefillah goes to waste, one might daven for a shidduch and not be answered right away. Yet because of his tefillahs, others may find their shidduch. A person may daven to marry a certain individual who really is not fitting for him. Stories abound about people who daven for a specific shidduch and later heard things that made them thankful that didn't work out. The Baal Shem Tov, that's quoted in Degel Machnei Ephraim and Sefer Dvarim, would say that sometimes a person will daven for something and ultimately be given something else. This should not discourage him. So when we daven, we don't know who will be helped by these tefillahs. They may help now, or they may be effective in years to come. Even when one's tefillahs don't seem to be answered now, he fulfills the mitzvah by davening. Often one davens for a specific need, and Hashem grants him another need that he did a daven for. Hashem knows what is good for us, and if we daven unanswered, it means that it wouldn't be good for us to have our requests fulfilled. When making a request from Hashem, one should ask it with a caveat. Hashem, please give me a specific shidduch if this is the will of Hashem. Hashem, please give me panasa that you'll know will be good for me. And let's end with this. Open your mouth. Hashem listens to every tefillah. This is like a tree that sometimes grows quickly, while other times it takes longer to see the fruits. Hashem has a plan, and there is a reason why He doesn't answer your tefillah now. However, one should keep davening since the yeshuas of Hashem happen in an instant. The pasuk in Tehillim in Perek Pe'alav pasuk Yudal says, "Open your mouth wide, and I will fill it." This simple meaning is that the more you ask of Hashem, the wider you open your mouth, and the more deserving you are that He should fill it. However, a deeper meaning is that one should ask for anything, and Hashem will fill it the way He wants, and not the way a person wants. As mentioned, Hashem knows what's good for each person, so it does not always grant what the person wants. Shlomo Zalman Auerbach Zatzal would say that one should train his students not to become accustomed to the fact that one's wills will be answered. Rather, they should learn to daven to Hashem for their needs. Hashem has a plan, and we just need to daven. The Eibush is a helfen, as chus, should be benched, and Hashem. And also one last reminder, as we keep mentioning every week now, Keren Tosfos Yom Tov is now doing a 1 million kabolos campaign for a chance to win $1 million for their local shul. And for more information, go to ktyt.org. ktyt.org. I don't get any commission on this whatsoever, by the way. I'm just putting it out there for those who want to strengthen their ways of davening and making kabolos. That will hopefully help them get to the next level in how we behave in shul. Bais, have a wonderful evening and good chodesh.